it's been a wild year. So, this show is a reminder of of the beauty of music, but also like it's a really hard reminder of what happened last year. Like, when my mama got in a really terrible ATV accident, and she was essentially dead, and they lifelined her to a hospital, and she spent 2 months in an ICU. And the day I was supposed to be playing this show in this town, I was in the ICU with her, and there was a teenager that died right next to me in a room, and there was a 28-year-old that died in the room next to her, and here's my 65-year-old mother dying in front of me. And it put everything into perspective, because I was like just really in kind of this show mode and just play shows, and all this thing was, all this was happening, and it seemed none of that mattered in that moment. And I hope it didn't really affect you all so much with your tickets and everything. And I hate that happened, but at the same time, there was nothing more important than that in that moment, and nothing, honestly.
Mama's first.
Well, yeah, I know that. That isn't without a question, but it just, there's, things like life got very real, and I think that's a big part of like the continuation of the conversation, which I mentioned earlier, and that's why I brought all that up, because as this show it's part of that next record. It's part of that story, that the show that didn't happen, and because of that, I had so much inspiration, and I sat beside her bedside, and a week or so before it happened, I got asked to sing the national anthem at the NFL draft, and I was like, oh my God, why me? I'd never sang that song in my life, not one time, outside of just like at a basketball game, high school basketball game, with everybody else singing it terribly. And so like it was a profound request, but the timing of it, and I sat beside my mother's body, at the time was like hanging on by a thread, and I composed our nation's anthem right next to her, and it was one of the darkest scenes to compose the national anthem, which if you know the history of the anthem, it was composed in a pretty dark scene too. So if you wonder why it's so morose and slow and dark, that was the reason why I composed that song in an ICU hospital room. And all that happened, around this show that time, last year, and it's a lot to reflect on. So apologize for venting to you all, like you're my therapist, but yeah, that's kind of the history of this show kind of coming around, and kind of the continuation and the evolution of the next record. And that was like such, that time kind of changed everything for me. And to answer your question, my mother is a miracle, and she's got her own little apartment now, and she just got her driver's license back. Lord help us, like 2 weeks ago. But yeah, she was fighting for her life for like 2 months, and then she really defied so many odds. She gave me so much inspiration in a time when I had none. Like my father's death kind of took all the wind out of my sails, and it just turns out that my mother was and is a bigger badass than my father was, and just took a really hard time to figure that out. Anybody got any questions or comments or observations or concerns, criticisms?